All right, so section 2.3b has to do with the slope-intercept form. So the first thing we got to do is define what the slope-intercept form is. Now, we're going to get into a part where we're going to start graphing things, okay? We already did that a little bit with the x and y intercepts, right? You found your x-intercept, you found your y-intercept, you put the points on the x and y axis, you connected the dots, and that was it. So that was all we've done with graphing in terms of an x-y axis. In this one, they're going to say, okay, well, finding the x and y intercepts is one way to graph, but another way to graph is to write it in a specific form, okay? So for us, we're going to write this thing in what's called the slope-intercept form. Make sure you guys memorize this because this does not go away. Okay, calculus, advanced calculus, geometry, modern geometry, elementary algebra, which is not elementary. Okay, I don't mean elementary 1st through 6th. I'm talking about algebra where we define why 1 plus 1 equals 2. I know it sounds stupid, but trust me, there's a lot of theory behind why that's so true. In math, we learned a lot of things that were just kind of weird once you get into college, and they start to make sense later. But at first, you're like, what? What do you mean? There was a class that I took called topology. Now, I know it might sound familiar to some, but it's not topography. Topography is like how maps are, how they go up and down and stuff like that. They map out the highs and lows of a certain area. That's called topography. Topology in math is the study of whether or not a circle is open or closed. Okay? What? Right? It took me about 3 weeks to understand what the heck I was doing in that class. And eventually it clicked and then I did well. But I was lost for about 3 weeks. I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, come on, a circle's closed, right? You just draw it and there you go. But no, sometimes it can be open. Anyway, the formula for slope-intercept form shows up there. Okay, in some of the weirdest places. It's always there. So this is our formula. Y equals mx plus b, where m is our slope and b is our y-intercept. Okay, and I'm going to put a little parenthesis here. This is a point on the y-axis. Okay, so y equals mx plus b. So the very first set of problems you guys are going to do for homework, there's 5 of them. They're going to tell you, can you write them to look like this? In other words, can you solve for y? Okay, and you're going to have to do that. Move things around to get a y all by itself. Okay, so that's going to be the very first thing that they're going to have you do. But before I get into that, I just want to give you guys a little... Actually, no, let me not give you this hint. We'll do that later. Let's kind of go with what we know right now. So remember, we're trying to write equations so that it says y equals to something. Nothing else should be next to the y. Everything has to be cleared away. All right? So here's one example. So we're just going to write in slope-intercept form. Sorry, example number 1. Write in slope-intercept form. Remember, y equals mx plus b, okay? Now, if you're wondering what the heck is m and what's b, it'll come out all by itself, naturally. You don't have to worry about m and b. You just got to worry about getting y by itself. Don't worry about all the other stuff, okay? Get y all by itself. So here we go. Part A. We'll start with this. X minus 6y is equal to 18. Now remember, I'm trying to make it say y equals mx plus b, okay? Y equals, that's the important thing. Y equals. Who cares about the stuff on the right? We'll figure that out later. But just y equals. So if I want to get y equals on the problem that I have over there, notice it's being multiplied by a 6, right? There's an x in the very front of that. So let's get rid of that x first. That's a positive x. So what do I do to both sides to get rid of a positive x? Let's make it negative. Let's subtract it, right? So I get negative 6y equals, now I personally, because I'm a little OCD and also because this is the way the books tend to write it in the answers, you always want to put your letter first before you write your number. Now remember, this is an 18, so I'm going to write negative x plus 18. You cannot add or subtract 18 with x. They're not like terms. So just put them like that. Okay, so far so good. But we're not done. I need y by itself. So what do I do to get y by itself? Divide by what? Negative 6. Yeah, 6 would be correct, but negative 6. Everything divided by negative 6. Okay? So, y equals, well, I know on the x it just says negative x, but isn't there a 1 there? Yeah. Like an invisible 1, right? We don't see it, but it is there. So a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So this actually becomes 1/6 x. And then 18 divided by negative 6 is negative 3. And that's it. This is all you have to do for homework, but let me just take it one step further. What's your slope? 1/6, thank you. What's your y-intercept? Negative 3. So now I know, if I wanted to graph this, that I would start at negative 3, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about this little hint later. But I'm going to begin at negative 3. On the y-axis, I'm going to put a little dot. And then I'm going to move up 1 and to the right 6. Because my slope is positive, I got to go up and to the right. If my slope was negative, I would go down and to the right. Okay? So once I write it in that form, y equals mx plus b, then I basically have my shortcut to graphing. I don't have to make tables. I don't have to find x, y intercepts. None of that stuff. I just use the information in front of me to find the place to start and what to do after. Okay, so the stuff in blue you don't have to write down, but it is going to show up eventually in this lesson. Okay, I'm just kind of giving you a little sneak peek into it. So let's do another one. Let's do another one of these. Before I do that, anybody have any questions on this one? How I went through solving it, moving things around, anything like that? Remember, guys, if you have questions, don't be scared to ask. I was that kid. I'm surprised I didn't. Well, nobody beat me up in high school because I was too big. I was like 6 foot as a junior. As a sophomore, so most people didn't bother me. But I was a kid who was asking questions all the time. I don't get it. Right? I don't get it. Can you explain it again? And I'm sure there were other kids in that class saying, thank God that guy doesn't understand anything, because neither do I, but at least he's asking, so I'm getting my questions answered, right? If you have questions, ask, okay? Ask. I sit in the very front because I had to make sure the teacher saw me, right? So I would ask, because if I didn't get it, I mean, what's the purpose of going to school if you come out just as smart as when you came in, right? No one wants to do that. So, all right, part B. Let me see. I'm looking for another one that's a little tricky, but this one's pretty cool. Here you go. 3x minus 2y equals 0. All right, so my job is to get y by itself, okay? I'm trying to get y equals mx plus b. So what do I move first? The 3x, right? It's a positive right now, so let's do a minus. So that gives me negative 2y equal to negative 3x. Plus 0, but I don't have to really write that, right? I could put plus 0, though, if you want. But it's not necessary. Just know that there's an addition of 0 because there's nothing there. What do I do to finish this problem off? All right, divide by negative 2. So y is equal to negative 3 divided by negative 2 is a positive 3 halves. You don't divide that. It doesn't go in evenly. Okay, so it's a positive 3 halves. And that's it. I'm done with this problem, okay? I put it in slope-intercept form. If I were to ask you what my slope is, what would you say?
0.
Careful. It's y equals mx plus b. M is my slope. It's the number next to the x. So what's my slope? 3 over 2. But what's my b value? 0. Okay? Because there's no number all by itself. Right? The number next to the letter that's stuck to it, that's your slope. mx. Right? mx. Then b is just a number. So there's no other number on the end, so it must be 0. Okay? So what was this little hint that I wanted to tell you? So this is the little hint that I want you guys to know. And maybe you already know it. Maybe you don't know it. So here you go. When you're graphing using this form, y equals mx plus b, okay, you need to begin here. B for begin, okay? This is where you start. So whatever that number is, you're going to go on your y-axis, because remember the b value is called your y-intercept, right? You're going to go to your y-axis, you're going to put a point right wherever it tells you. You begin at that point. And then, this is how you move from b. Okay, so I know b is slope, y-intercept and m is slope. I know that. But when you're graphing and you're like, oh man, here's my equation, what do I do? Well, begin with b, and then move using your slope. Okay, so begin and move. So for the next problems, they're only giving you 2 of these. So I'm only going to do 1 of them, and then I'm going to do like an extra one just for extra practice. It's not going to be a homework problem though. Okay, so there's going to be example number 2, graph. So one of these is going to be a homework problem. The first one I'm giving you, okay? This is a homework problem. The next one will not be. Now they want you to graph this. Now, I don't know how you want to scale it. I'm making a 5 by 5 graph, okay? So 5 up, 5 down, 5 left, 5 right. You don't have to. You can go by 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8. But usually when you're trying to graph to start, it's always best just to go by a scale of 1. So bigger graphs are always preferred. On your homework, they will give you the graphs already. So that's nice of them. It's going to take me longer to draw the graph than to draw the grid than to draw the graph. Okay? You guys ready? Hold on, I still see some people kind of drawing, so let me wait about 10 more seconds. Just trust me, it's going to go by fast. I love this lesson in high school because it was so simple. When I had my equation, it was like, put this, do that, done. Okay? So, here we go. Where do I begin? -4, right? It's called my y-intercept. So I'm going to go to -4 right here, and I'm going to put a big old dot right there. Now the reason why I chose this problem is because the slope is a little weird, okay? So let me just kind of write this down here. B, we said was -4. My slope is what? 2. But if it's supposed to be rise over run or fall over run, it's supposed to be a fraction. If it's just 2, yeah, it's over 1, right? It's going to be over 1. So you're going to move 1 time to the right. So what I'm going to do is from that green point, I am going to move. Now notice my slope is positive, right? So should I go up or down? Up, right? Positive slope is rise. Negative slope is fall. So rise twice, once over. So here we go. I'm going to go up twice. So from -4, I'm at -3, -2. That's up twice, once over. Here's my point. And then use your ID card and connect the dots. And that's it. That's all there is to graphing these problems. It's very simple. I mean, at first you might take a little more time because you're still getting used to it. But once you got it, I mean, you're going to be able to say like -4, okay, 2, boom, there it is, let's move on, right? Real fast. Any questions on that one? Right now we're going to do another one. Similar to the homework one.
When you put, what if there's another number, like for 2/1, instead of moving just one time?
So if it was like 2/3 maybe?
Yeah.
We're going to do that one like that right now, but you would go up twice and 3 times to the right. Yeah, so you just follow the directions for whatever's happening. All right, so let me do one more that's going to be very similar to a homework problem, but it is not a homework problem. Let's say, so this is not a homework problem, but it's close to what you're going to see. And I know today's lesson might seem like we talked for half an hour to 40 minutes, but remember I passed out tests and talked about them, so kind of wasted some time there in the beginning. My apologies. All right, so let me draw a graph. I'm not going to make this one as big, but I'm still going to make it a square grid. Square meaning it's the same side to side and up and down. So let me put my marks here. So here's a 4x4 grid. What is my B value? Where do I begin? At 2. And then how do I move? Okay. Negative, so it's not 1 up, it's 1 down and 3 to the right. Okay? The negative tells you up or down. So the 1 is either going to go up or down. Since it's negative, it's 1 down and 3 to the right. So my slope is -1/3. But remember, I like saying begin here, move, right? So I'm going to begin at 2 on the y-axis. So here's my y-intercept right there. Okay? And then I get to move according to my slope. My slope is negative. That means I have to go down 1 time and then 3 times to the right. So down once, 3 times over. 1, 2, 3. That's going to be right here. Okay, so I went 1 down and then 3 times to the right to get to that next point from my green point. Okay, remember, I'm beginning at that point. So I'm going to keep my pencil there and then I'm going to move. And now just draw the picture. I should use my ID to do my lines so they come out a lot nicer. I'll do that next. So is this okay? It's not too bad, right? Like I said, I love graphing this way because if I can write it in the right form, y equals, then it's easy for me to tell this is where I begin, this is how I move, and it's easy, okay? So, all right, now the rest of your homework, if I'm correct, and actually on your homework, there's going to be 4 questions that say write the standard form. We're not going to do that, okay? So when you get it, you can cross out 13 through 16. But on your homework, there are 2 special types of graphs you guys have to know. Okay, so special graphs. Now, if you ever see that they ask you, graph the following, and it's like x equal to 5, or x equal to -2, whatever. I'm going to call it C, okay, because I don't know what number we're going to do, but we'll do an example in a bit. But if they give you something like that, where it's just x equals to something, then this is what it's going to look like. Notice I'm drawing a little tiny graph because I don't have to do anything specific. I'm not even going to make the tick marks. I'm just doing the x-axis, the y-axis. Your graph has to look like this. Like I said, let me use a... something I get in my wallet here. So it's going to look something like this. Okay. And this part right here on the y-axis, will be C. So if they tell you x equal to 5, you're going to go up 5 times on the y-axis and draw a horizontal line. If they tell you x equals to -1, you're going to go to -1 on the y-axis and you're going to draw a horizontal. Actually, never mind. I'm completely wrong. I don't want you to change a lot, so let's change this. Right now I was listening to myself. I'm like, no, that's not right. Let's change that. That's going to be less of a erasing thing. Sorry about that. So let's rewind and pretend we're just starting. When y is equal to c, y, if they tell you a 5, you go up to your y-axis, you go to 5, and you draw a horizontal line there. Okay, y equals a horizontal line. If they tell you y equals -1, go down 1, horizontal line there. The x equal to is a vertical line, like you said. Yeah, when I was saying that, I'm like, wait a minute, x is supposed to be this way, right? So, like I said, I teach this stuff. I have a degree in this stuff, and I still mess up. So don't feel bad if you mess up, okay? It happens. It's normal. So here we go. Just to draw this one here. Like I always tell my students, and when you make a mistake, admit it. Don't try to talk your way out of it, right? Just say, I messed up. Sorry. X equal to C, these are vertical lines, okay? So maybe this will be my C value right here. And my line's going to be vertical, so... Alright, so I'm going to put a little hint right here. These are horizontal, and these are vertical. These are very easy to graph. You just have to know which way does it go. X is up and down, and Y is left and right. If you ever forget which way they go, I always tell people, just think of the tick marks for a graph. Okay? Think of the tick marks of the graph. So look at this graph right here. My x-axis, look at my x-axis, which is right here. This is my y-axis. Which way do the little markings on the x-axis go? Up and down or left and right? Up and down. They're called tick marks, okay? These little marks right here, they're called ticks, okay? They go up and down. So anything that says x equals 5, x equals -3, they should go up and down, okay? Look at the tick marks on the y-axis. Which direction do they go? Left to right. That means on the y-axis, your graphs are horizontal, okay? That's kind of like the little secret that sometimes people don't know. They don't see it. But that is there for you guys to know the orientation of a graph like the one we're talking about, okay? Now, aside from that, the rest of your homework, they're just going to tell you, hey, rewrite the equation and then graph it. So let me do those and then we're done. So example number 3. Graph the following. So let's do this one. 4x plus 5y equals -5. So this would be considered like a tough one, I guess. I mean, I guess we can make it so much more difficult. But like, according to your homework, that is considered like a tough problem. Okay? Remember, my whole objective is to get it to say y equals mx plus b or some kind of equation, but it has to say y equals, right? So that's what I'm looking for. Bless you. The m and the b will pop up on their own. You don't have to do anything special to get those. As you do the math, they're just going to start popping up, okay? So, to get y by itself, what should I move first? The 4x. So let's subtract 4x. Thank you. So minus 4x. That gives me 5y equal to, remember, I like writing the letters first before the numbers. Remember, you cannot add -5 minus 4 because the -4 has an x stuck to it. So don't combine those. Okay? What do I do to get y by itself now? I divide by 5. Thank you. So divide by 5. Everything gets divided by 5. So I get y equals -4/5 x minus 1. And there you go. I'm done. Now I got a graph. Okay? So let's graph this. So probably should have, let me see. I don't know if this will open up for me. Okay, it does, thankfully. I'm just trying to see what measurements I should make this. I think this will be okay. Again, you guys are already going to have a graph available to you, so you're not going to have to draw one. All right, so I'm going to write down my slope and my y-intercept. So what is my y-intercept? -1, thank you. What is my slope? All right, -4/5. Remember, B for begin, M for move, right? So I begin at -1. So I'm going to put a dot right there at -1. And then from that dot, I get to move 4 down and 5 over. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's over here. And then I just connect the dots and I'm done. There's my graph.
Is it possible for the y-intercept to be a fraction?
Yeah, it could. Yeah, his question is, like, what if my y-intercept was a half? Is that okay? Yeah, you can always graph a half or 3/4 and stuff. It's possible. Do we like it to be one? No. We prefer it to be a nice whole number, but it does happen for sure. Go ahead.
Despite like the negative and positive sign, the bottom of your denominator of the slope, is it always going to go to the right or is it going to have to go to the left?
95% of the time, you always run right. The only times you don't run right is if your graph is like, if you're running out of space, like if your slope tells you to go up, let's pretend that I started up here and I was supposed to go up 4 times. I was supposed to go up 4 and over 3, right? I'm going to put 4/3, okay? But I don't have any space. So what you could do is you could do the complete opposite and go down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 3, and your next dot would be right here. Now, just to make sure I did it right, if I go from this dot to this dot, isn't that 4 up and 3 over? Right? Look at it. 4 up, 3 over. So I didn't break any rules. Those are 2 dots that follow the movement of the slope. I just had to go completely opposite. Okay? So yeah, it does happen, and it's not a favorite thing for it to happen because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm running out of space. So what people do instead is they end up drawing a bigger graph. They just rather draw more points instead of going backwards. And that's okay too. You can draw bigger graphs if you want. So last one for you guys. Here is part B. I just want you guys to graph x equal to, or sorry, y equals to 4. Just graph y equals 4. And that'll be it. Again, you guys will be provided with graphs. If you need a lot of graphs, remember I have that paper right there on the left side of the board in those little baskets there. There are a bunch of little graph papers things that I made for you guys. So I think it has like a total of 18 grids for you to use if you ever need it. So to graph y equal 4, is there a slope here?
No.
No, right? There's no mx. There's no x value. right? So that just means I get to start at, not at 0. Remember, y equals 4. According to the definition, y equals c, you start at c, right? On your y-axis. For x, you'll start on c on the x-axis. So where do I start on the y-axis? At 4. And then just draw a horizontal line. And that's it. That's all.